What's up, guys? My name is Lucas Govan. Here today to help you guys snap a little bit more consistently and help with kind of overall center play as it pertains to snapping the ball. Happy to be here. Other than that, a little background on me. Played at Carmel High from 2009 2011. After that, went on played at Humboldt State, where I played all positions on the offensive line. Let me preface that. Played for the Carmel Panthers back from 2003 through 2008. Then Carmel High, then Humboldt State. After that, got into coaching. Started at Humboldt State, where I GA'd my first year of grad school, and then was the offensive line coach my second year of grad school there before they canceled the program. After that, coached around a couple local high schools up there while finishing school. Then moved on to Feather River Junior College, where I was coaching actually quarterbacks, tight ends, and running backs. And then now I'm currently at Whittier College, where I'm the run game coordinator and offensive line coach. So happy to help you guys out. Try to coach you guys up on a couple of little things here that make you a better center and help keep your snaps more consistent. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the grips. The first one's going to be your more conventional style of grip, which I'm sure most of you guys do already. It's what you usually see NFL centers do, although some of them may have gone to dead ball right now. I use conventional, from 4th grade up until about my sophomore year of college. So something I'm very familiar with. We just had to change it based on the kind of style of offense we're running. To each their own in this. Realistically, guys, when it comes down to snapping, it's whatever gets the ball to the quarterback in the most efficient and comfortable way possible. And we just have to be able to adapt to them. So the first one here, a couple of grips. The first one, you see the thumb on the lace right here. I like to use this when the ball is usually wet out. I feel like it gives me a better grip on the ball, and I can manipulate it a little more and have more control of it, even though the velocity might not be as high. Accuracy is the biggest thing when it comes to snapping, and I feel like in wetter conditions, this gives me a little bit more. Second one is your traditional kind of just like if I were to throw a football just standing up, regularly grip it like I would. Thumb kind of overlapping. I usually go 3 fingers on the laces here, and I put the ball at about a 45-degree angle. Not my finger on the tip. A lot of people try to do that. I think it goes faster. If it works for you, it works for you. I personally feel like there's a greater chance of me kind of pushing the ball one way or another. So I just like to throw it like a regular football as I would if I were standing up normally. So getting on some clips here. This is yours truly. Snapping conventionally. I'll pause and talk throughout it. So the first thing to do is get set here. Bend the knees. As you see, I'm locked in right here. My offhand's ready. This ball's at a nice 45-degree angle. But there's not too much weight on the ball where if it's put away, I'm going to fall on my face. I'm able to look through my eyebrows right here. I have a nice flat back, knees bent, and I guarantee you my knees are going to be inside my ankles during this with all my cleats in the ground here. Ready to snap. Good, great. It's all very important to take your steps after here. I know I'm slow and everything, but it's important to take your full speed footwork. I make our centers go at least 3 hard steps after to make it a little realistic. If not, I don't see the point of doing the drill if you're not doing at least 3 hard steps. So let me try to pause it right here. So while I'm snapping, the biggest thing is trying not to hitch. Balls that tend to sail over the quarterback's head. This happens when this your lower back or your hips will raise up during this whole entire process. So it's hard to get rid of it completely. Not many people can, and it's almost like it's fighting at your anatomical tendencies. But we can do our best to fight against it. So I'll try to pause it here right in the middle where we want to create this minimal hitch in this. So I got a little bit of a turn, back slightly bent right here, but for the most part still very flat, and I'm able to move right off the ball. Perfect. Second clip here, still conventional. Head up look, you see right here. Knees inside my ankle are roughly parallel. I know my toe points out. That's just kind of me. It's a story for another day. But I'm in a very square stance. I'm able to pass set or run block out of this. I'm not giving my tail away. My snap isn't going to differ between if it's a run play or the pass play, which I think is the biggest thing. We need to be consistent throughout the entire process, for lack of a better term. Once again, offhand's ready. I'm in a nice stance. I'm looking through my eyebrows. Getting into my pass stance. So I'm able to move backwards, forwards, left to right, laterally, horizontally, with the snap still being consistent throughout the process. Like I said, we want to minimize that hitch. throughout the entire snap. I'll speed up through these ones just so we can get to dead ball here. Getting set right here. Play it again. Good, good. Also, big thing for you guys. Oop, that one sailed a little bit. That you should be getting. Here's a perfect. So, sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place. So, slight hitch here. Still trying to keep my hips down. Trying to sink those hips as I've been doing this. And as my hands in between my legs, this is the most vulnerable I'm going to be, right? So, I need to have this offhand ready to protect myself for any blitzing backers or any nose guard pressure or A-gap pressure that's coming either way. I don't know where this is going. Another thing to get these consistent is that we always want it in the middle of the quarterback's sternum or on their right breastplate, because that usually quarterbacks are right-handed. They want to catch it, getting their pass set easier. Is that if I start to pull it or push it one way or the other, so if the snap's to the left or to the right, the big thing is I want to overcompensate to try to fix it. And that might take a couple snaps off the sideline. But the big thing is if I'm consistently pulling it, so if I'm sitting right here, if we all can see my mouse, if I consistently landing on our quarterback's his left shoulder, I want to try to pull it to my right. So I want to pull it towards this leg. I'm going to try to trick my brain to snap it right down the middle again, because odds are I'm just releasing it to the right side every single time. So if I'm consistently one way, then I know that's not the biggest end of the world problem. I know I can go to the side, overcompensate, get at least 5 to 10 snaps in where I overcorrect and go right down the middle again. And then from there I can work into my stance, my footwork, and I'll be ready to rock again. So that's a good way to fight against the yips or any sort of errant snaps, because everyone has those days where nothing's landing right and the ball's kind of all over the place. And the worst thing to do is just when we start overthinking it, we don't know where we are, we feel like we're treading in open water, and we don't know what to do. The biggest thing is just to overcorrect, especially if it's directional left and right. If it's the up and down, that's going to be your release point on your ball. So if I go back here to my side shot, if I tend to sail the ball or it goes over the quarterback's head, let me see if I get it here. It means I'm typically either one of two things. I'm flicking my wrist as I'm going through. My hips are going up, like I said earlier, or I'm releasing too late through my hips. So I like to release right under my knee pit, as I like to call it. Right under my knee pit, or at least that's what I think it is. I could be releasing by my ankles, but to me, in my mind, I think I'm releasing through my knee pit. So, to correct a height difference, so if I'm snapping too low, I know I need to hold on to it skosh later, or I don't really like adjusting my wrist, because I feel like there's a lot of variables that go into that. The biggest thing that I do to adjust the height of the ball is usually the release point of the ball. And just like fixing lateral movement, I want to get 5 to 10 reps off of the sideline in a stagnant stance, and then move on to about 5 reps with footwork before I get rolling back in. Obviously, practice time is condensed and everything, so it's really important that we do this before practice so you get in a good rhythm before you get rolling here. I believe I'm still in this conventional. Yep, conventional here. Still square all the way through. Release right through the knee pit. Firing through. See again, check the hitch. Small hitch in the lower back. We'll live with that. I'm not perfect. No one is. I'll go to the next slide. Good, offhand. Good. Make sure you're fully set before you snap the ball. I know I'm slightly rushing here. This is a bad example by me. Make sure you come to a complete full second. If you have a quarterback who knows your cadence, make sure they run through the cadence. Everything should be practice game-like. That way when you get to practice and game, everything feels normal and natural. You don't want to be abbreviating anything to where when it gets to the real thing and the stuff that matters, that should feel the most comfortable. I'll get through these, get to dead ball. Perfect, dead ball. So, not sure if you guys have started using dead ball. Like I said before, I kind of adapted to dead ball about my sophomore year in college. We had a quarterback that was about 5'8", and we were running the pistol offense, so he had to be at 4 yards. And I was firing lasers back there, so we had to slow it down a little bit. So the dead ball is usually to get it back there slower, gives the quarterback more time to see it and to adjust to it, and tendency of more knuckling rather than a spiral. So it gives them a better chance to catch the ball. You can still adjust the speed to this, and I would say it's probably easier to learn. It's easier to teach throughout the entire process. There's less variables that go into it to make it successful. So here's the grip for it. I like splitting the laces with my index and my middle finger right here, going right down the middle. That way I get a good grip with my thumb underneath on the left quarter panel down here, and then my pinky on the right quarter panel, kind of this, I guess, 3-finger prong, if you want to call it, up top. So here's on the ground. So I'm putting about roughly the same amount of weight. This is going to affect your stance a little bit because it's going to bring you higher off the ground, which you'll see here in a little bit. You'll be less squatty and more upright, which, I mean, isn't the end of the world. But once again, it's about getting comfortable in your stance and being able to move effectively within that stance. That's really going to make the difference and make you an effective player. Because at the end of the day, you still have to be able to block someone. And if you're so worried about the stance that you can't block anyone, then they're going to find someone else to do it. So here we go with dead ball. So bring it back a little bit. So you see I'm a little higher up. Back's still flat. Knees are still inside the ankles. Arm is completely straight. There should be a board down my forearm, my snapping hand, from my wrist all the way up. Offhand still set. I'm looking through my eyebrows. Same thing. I don't want to be hitching up at all. I want to keep this as nice and flat as possible. Overemphasize it. My release point is going to be the same. It's going to be through, I'm going to say, my knee pit again. But the big thing with this is that if you break your wrist at all or snap your wrist, this thing's going to go flying. So you got to imagine like you got a board right here, flex your wrist, flex your forearm, and you're going to see here, like I said, no one's perfect before, but my arm's going to bend a little bit, but this whole upper arm, this whole forearm and wrist is flexed and stays flat throughout the process. So even though my elbow breaks, this is still staying flexed throughout the process. So don't say, hey, Coach Govan, hey, Lucas, you know, your elbow's breaking, what's the deal? Well, I cheated a little bit, I know, Scout's honor, but I'm overcompensating with this, with my forearm flexion during this, so that's how I get away with it. But during all these drills, for my warm-up, I'm really trying to overemphasize this flat arm during the entire process, and so I'm going to have the same 5 to 10 of just stagnant snaps, making sure they're right down the middle of the chest. If I mess up, I restart from the beginning, as well as then moving on to my footwork and adding it in. Working both pass pro and run, trying to get through 3 reps each play throughout the entire playbook before we get going to practice. See if I can speed this or bring this back again. So theoretically, it should go slower. That tiny quarterback that I was telling you about, he once he got used to it, he liked the ball getting faster, so I was able to speed it up a little bit. But once again, you can vary the speed without a whole lot of adjustments to this, it makes it a little bit easier. There really is no, this one's better than that one's better than this one. It's dealer's choice up front. I mean, if you got a center that can only snap conventional, so be it. I don't think there's a big issue. Honestly, the biggest issue is going to be this quarterback back there, and which one he prefers. Always ask your quarterback what he wants. So, like I said, slight bend right here, that's okay. I guarantee you this wrist is straight throughout the entire process, okay? I want to keep a nice flat arm throughout the entire process. Slight bend, we can live with that. And once again, if I know it's going too high, I guarantee you it's going to be this wrist that's breaking and flicking it up. So I want to keep that nice and flat and release through my knee pit again. If I'm pulling it, what would be the quarterback's right? I know I'm going to adjust to the left. If I know I'm pushing it to the left, I know I got to readjust to the right and kind of biohack, for the lack of a better term, myself, so I can go down the middle again and really nail it home and feel comfortable before going back in. Because if I just rush the process, get one snap and say I'm good, odds are when I get back in and live bullets, things aren't going to work out. Good. We see a slight bend in the arm. I wish I had slow-mo on this. I don't think I do. Let me try to pause it perfectly. So slight bend in the arm, a little bit, nothing too crazy. And here we go. Now we're living. What we're really trying to do is keep that wrist nice and flat during the process, and it's almost like you're pushing it back there. You should be pushing it back there with keeping that wrist nice and flat. I think we're coming up on the last one here. So here's a stagnant snap. Whether you're doing conventional or dead ball, I like to hit pre-practice, like before anyone's out there, probably about 20 to 25 of these, just snapping without even moving, getting forward, making sure I'm good for the day. Really cutting down on that this hitch in the background. I'm going to have the least amount of hits during this because I can control all my movements the best during this. So once I do about 20, 25 of those successfully, then I move into a variation of my run game and pass game footwork, where I feel comfortable moving around, feel like I can bend, moving like I can move fast, getting to the point where this is all kind of second nature. I'm not worrying about the snap, and that's where I really want to get to. I believe that's it. So last thing, like I said, pre-practice, kind of going through my routine. Over adjust if I'm pulling it to a certain side or pushing it to a different side. I want to over adjust and over snap to the side I was mixing against. So once if I was say it was to the quarterback's left, then I want to pull it to the right, and odds are it's going to hit right down the middle again. If I'm sailing it, going over the quarterback's head, I know I got to fix my release point, release a little bit sooner, and kind of vice versa. If it's on the ground, he's got to play, Derek Jeter back there, then I got to release a little bit later, okay? But the big thing is try to minimize any variations with the wrist or arm movement, because that's where you can get a little bit funky with that stuff. The biggest thing is the release point of the snaps. That's going to be your biggest kind of adjuster to when things go awry. And once again, I know I hit it on again, or I hit on it earlier, but being able to move and actually block within your stance, you don't want to go super wide, long snapper stance. You should be able to move fast and effectively within your stance. So a nice shoulder width stance that is square, where you can move forward, backward, and laterally within your pass sets and run footwork, and you'll be all moving and grooving. But other than that, fellas, I'm happy to help you out. If you have any questions with anything along the future, hey, look, I got an extra clip. Look at me. Wow, look at that son of a gun. If you have any and have any questions, hit me up. Ask Coach Anderson for my information. Happy to help.